team. Oh, what's up, guys? Sorry, I was just checking my phone because Cambuur, the team I'm representing for the GPC, is playing right now, and I can't watch the game. At least I'm not doing it because I'm recording this for you guys. Anyway, this is the team preparation and analysis for the Swalotford FC, my first round opponent for the playoffs. He has quite a better team than he did last season, and he knows how to play it properly this season as well, because it's not like coincidence that he made it second in the Division B. And basically his team is very fucking threatening. It's arguably better than mine. I don't think it's better necessarily, but it does have the matchup advantage. Most definitely. He does have Megazord X, which is a humongous threat. Skarmory, Celebi, Tornado, Styrian, Melodic, Aromatisse, Nidoking, Jolteon, Zangoose, Rotom-10 and Leaven. All of them are basically fantastic in a league format and can be used however well you want them to be used, basically. So it's it's a team that you probably rather avoid facing, but yeah, that's no longer an option for me. So I have prepared, of course, a team of my own, but basically a quick analysis of his team and how my team is based around on his team. Basically, he has all forms of hazards. He has Stealth Rock, Sticky Web, Spikes, and T-Spikes. T-Spikes not likely he's gonna bring. I don't think he's ever brought Spikes in a game, but it's a possibility, definitely. My team is very much grounded, but yeah, I don't think he will, because I do have Mega Absol, which can of course fear out Spikes, Stealth Rock from Skarmory. I do think Sticky Web could be a threatening way to a threatening, like what's his face? What's it called? Entry hazard. A threatening entry hazard, because I cannot block it with Mega Absol for one. And also Sticky Web just helps a lot versus my ground advance, like I just said. He has one viable, in my opinion at least, viable Devour. He does have two in Zord X. Not the viable one, of course, and Skarmory, which is in my opinion the viable one. Zord X is more than likely, he can be bulky. It's definitely something I do fear and do prepare for and do need to scout for. But Dragon Dancing is more likely, and because it's better versus my team. Just look at my team and look at how Zord X does versus it. It just basically has the very big potential of destroying it if my preparation is not well enough, not on point. Like I said, DD Zord has a great matchup versus my team, and I do have walls that can invest, and I do have mounts that can outspeed, but it still is a huge threat. And I need to scout if it's bulky, if it has Will-O-Wisp, if it has Roost, if it's max speed. I don't know, I need to scout for it, because yeah, I do have priority, but most of it is Sucker Punch. Actually all of it is Sucker Punch, except for the fake out from Kecleon and possibly on Mew, for example, but yeah, everything else is Sucker Punch. That's kind of the weakness for my team this season. I can't say it now because this is the last battle anyway, so at least versus David, and then versus the final, of course, which I will most definitely make. But yeah, Celebi also has a great matchup versus me. Celebi is pretty versatile because it's base 100 speed, so it's unpumped with most of my mons, which are pretty speedy, and it just does good damage with its stabs. It has the setup potential. It can baton pass, which he likes to run like he did last season. So yeah, recover, etc. Sorry for the interruption. But yeah, like I said, Celebi can be used very effectively versus my team. So also a big threat that I have to consider and I have to adapt to. Quickly scrolling down, 1 second. Most of his spawns have a great matchup versus me, so I have to make guesses. Oh yeah, that's what I said. Basically, like I said, his team is pretty threatening on its own, and he has a lot of mons that can potentially do damage versus me. And basically, he has a team of 11 mons, and 9 of the 11 are definitely very viable versus my team. So building this team, I had to make guesses, not necessarily guesses, but I had to have rough estimates to what mons he was going to bring. and what mons he wasn't gonna bring, and if he did bring certain mons that what sets he would run, if he would run conventional or unconventional sets. So yeah, I am limited because he has a great team, so I am limited in my own team building to checking everything necessarily. So yeah. Now onto his weaknesses from his team. He only has, although his squad may look fantastic, he does have weaknesses. He has only one rock resist. Yes, Nidoking. That's his only rock resist. He also has one ice resist. Melodic. So, two humongous weaknesses. He has 4 rock weaknesses. Rotom, Leavenny, Zordex, and Tornado. And 5 ice weaknesses in Celebi, Tornty, Nidoking, Rotom, and Leavenny again. So all of those things are definitely something in my favor which I can make use of. That's definitely something I can start off on building the team. Also, most of his mons are specially attacking except for the biggest threat on his team, Zordex, and possibly Nidoking, Zangoose, and Leavenny. Everything else is basically a physical attacker. I guess Celebi could be a physical attacker, special attacker, sorry. I guess Celebi could be a physical attacker, and of course Skarmory is physical attacker, but just the physical threats, you know? That's what I'm kinda going by. So everything else basically is usually a special attacker, Melodic, Aromatisse, Nidoking, Jolteon, Rotom, etc. Yeah, he also has no Ghost type and no Dark type. Just saying. Don't know what I want to do with that, but might be obvious. His only Dark move really on his team is that he's more than likely gonna click if he wants to click it, I guess, is knock off the Tornadus T, possibly on Zangoose as well, but Facade often seems like the better option unless he predicts my Conference switch it, if I decide to bring it, who knows. And he has priority, but it's unstep Sucker Punch from Nidoking, Celebi, and a quick attack from Zangoose. At least the priority that I'm worried about. So that's not too much priority if you ask me. Meaning that I can basically be on low health with my setup mons and still sweep him, not having to fear like a quick attack, not having to fear random Aqua Jets or Mark Punches from whatever mons on his team he can have. So yeah, that's everything I wrote down on his team, and now onto the mons I brought, of course. First of all, like I said, he only has one ice resist, Melodic, meaning that Kyurem Black is definitely gonna put in a hell of work against his team. It has the Ice Beam because it's almost unresisted, and Melodic cannot touch back a Kyurem Black. At first I was like, okay, he might carry Dragon Tail, fearing me being a setup variant of any kind, maybe just trying to check my, I don't know, Mew, and having a Dragon Tail on that for Mew. But even Dragon Tail does less than 25%, so I carry Substitute in this set because it can just easily set up a substitute on his Scalds, Ice Beams, Toxics, I don't know, Dragon Tails, whatever he wants to do. Also carry the Toxic because I do want to hit back the Melodic. Fusion Bolt is an option, but I don't necessarily win. I think I do win actually, but I might lose substitutes and etc. I might be a stalwart. And yeah, I'm using a stall mon, I know, this is definitely a stall shit, but it has some offensive potential, and I'm carrying the Ice Plate because Life Orb damage is something I do want to avoid. And since I'm only using one move, being an ice move, Ice Plate is the best option. Or Never Melt Ice, I think that's the same thing, but yeah. This mon is going to hopefully do a lot of damage versus team. I am running a Timid over a Modest one. I do have a calc open, I do have 6 calcs open actually. But if you can see it right here, this is my Absol calc, never mind. Is this Kyurem? Kyurem, yep. You cannot really see it, but this is the, Melodic. Let me click the Skarmory. If it's the normally defensive Skarmory, it does over half, meaning that Skarmory is easily checked. If it is the specially defensive one, let's change that to calm real quick. It's basically a roll. He might have leftovers, I do need to scout for that. He could also be Rocky Helmet because that is another item I'm fearing, but that's because of a different mon. But if he is leftovers, then I don't win with Kyurem right away. But I also make sure that Skarmory is not a switch in, especially when Stealth Rocks are up. And because this is his more than likely his defogger and he does have a lot of rock weaknesses, Skarmory can definitely like pressure him to either defog and die or not defog at all. So that's the game plan behind Kyurem. It just puts a whole lot of pressure on his team. Can set up a substitute against most of his mons and just fire up Ice Beams by outspeeding a lot of mons. Sorry for the interruption. I'm back. But yeah, you can see his team, but basically the only monsters on his team that outspeed me are Tornadus T, which can definitely get bopped by an Ice Beam if he is not Assault Vest. If he has Assault Vest, it still does a huge chunk of damage. Well, I can show you the cog real quick because Tornadus T, that's Life Orb, Assault Vest. Ice Beam, this is the standard Assault Vest set. Let's say he's max HP. Ice Beam does easily, it's easily to KO. It just easily is. And Focus Blast only does 60 to like 68%. So yeah, Kyurem is gonna get kills. And yeah, I do have Roost because Roost is useful as fuck. Oh yeah, also another monster that can outspeed is Zord X. But that's a win condition in his end, so more than likely not gonna be a thing that can that he's gonna switch in and try to weaken my Kyurem Black with. If he does, then it's massive damage that I can have on his Zord X, which is crucial, of course. He could have Scarfers, possible. Also Jolteon. Jolteon is forced to lock himself into Shadow Ball or whatever if he wants to outspeed me, because yeah, a T-Bolt or anything is not gonna take down my sub. He does have another switch in, which can be a potential threat. This is Aromatisse, and I will quickly show Aromatisse cogs. Usually Aromatisse is defensive, but that's completely under the standard ladder. Here Aromatisse is physically defensive, and Ice Beam is around it with KO. I do think he's gonna run something like the Babiri Berry for the Iron Head Kyurem Black, potentially. We'll see, I don't know yet. But if he is this defensive set, then Ice Beam does a good chunk of damage and I can just keep spamming it. If he is, however, especially defensive set, I might be in a little bit of trouble. However, it's not that bad because I have a very good switch into Aromatisse if it is just a standard set. I mean, it's my Nidoking Queen. And I will come around to that later, but Aromatisse is a decent check to me. I do have to mention it because I can't just go ham on his team with just Kyurem. But yeah. Anyway, next up, the second man on my team, Choice Curve, Archeops. I'm planning to lead with this. That is why I'm carrying Heat Wave over another rock move, because that was my basically my thought process kind of thing, because Head Smash does a lot of recoil to myself and I don't want to get myself below half because of the defeatist. However, I do think it's not that bad, because in my previous matches Taruk wasn't used as much, even if when I have Scarf as a backup. I often made sure that his mons didn't have the potential to set up on me. So a normal Taruk, this Taruk is the one I'm going for. And yeah, Head Smash, because Head Smash is killing everything except for Nidoking. Well, it does more stuff can survive, but you get a gist of it. Head Smash because Head Smash damage. EQ because EQ is a very spammable move, especially if Skarmory is down. Jolly Head Smash, by the way, from Archeops to a fully physically defensive Skarmory does 58. This is, by the way, not physically defensive. This is especially defensive. If he is physical defensive, it does 44 to 52%. Meaning Skarmory is, when weakened or when switched in on Stealth Rocks, it's dead. It's just dead. Die. Dude, die. Dead. It's gone. Meaning that Archeops spams Head Smashes every day, all day, every day. And it still checks Zord X even if I have him under defeatist range, so assuming I get some kind of damage off on it before it sets up, of course. That's mainly because White Scarf, it's a backup check to Zord X. Also, he could have Scarf Celebi. I don't know, he might have. He did bring the first PR in this last week game. Also, first Tornadus T, I do outspeed it now, so I can KO it. And because if he is leave any with sticky web, I do now not get affected by sticky web, meaning that I still outspeed everything in his team after even if the sticky web is up. And I guess he also has Rare Fan, which is a thing, possibly to be scarfed. Also outspeed Jolteon, so yeah, Nidoking, scarf Nidoking, not a threat. Yeah, that's why Scarf Jobs is just that useful for my team this time. Next up, the third one I definitely knew that it was gonna be a thing. Is Absol, Mega Absol, Fapsol, and this is my win condition. Mega Absol, Sucker Punch, Sword Stance, Knockoff, Return. I am running Return over something like Iron Tail for specifically for Aromatisse, because I do want to hit up, of course, the Zord X for good damage if this is a sweep, if this is sweeping potential. I cannot rely on the Sucker Punch for doing the job, because if he is roost, 2 attacks roost for example, then yeah, I'm screwed, because it can just set up on me, and Knockoff is not going to do too much damage. Anyway, I do have Return for that, because it hits both of them neutrally, and I don't hit for a Sucker Punch, basically. It's my best move. It could go for Double Edge, because that's a stronger move, but I don't want to have to recall damage. Aromatisse, only if it's fully physically defensive, it can be a stop to Mega Absol. If it's specially defensive, Mega Absol can run straight into it after a +2. I can quickly show you the cogs again. This is versus a normal Skarmory, physically defensive. So after a +2, I still don't even to it kill it. I do kinda, but that is of course when it has leftovers or whatever, and it's not knocked off yet. So Skarmory, Aromatisse, fully physically defensive. A Return does, a Double Edge does, well, this much, so yeah. I do only need a little bit of damage for it to die to a +2, Return or Double Edge. Basically, especially defensive. Calm Nature. Return is almost a 2-hit kill. Basically, after Stealth works, it is an OHKO. I said 2-hit kill, but it's an OHKO at +2, a 2-hit kill at +1. Anyway, Fapsol is the sweeper, it just cleans up his whole team. You cannot see this, but Zord X is a problem, Skarmory is a problem, everything else, and Aromatisse of course, and everything else dies to a priority Sucker Punch. Celebi, Tornadus-T, all die to a +2 Sucker Punch. Nidoking dies, Jolteon dies, Zangoose dies, Fan dies, and Leaf Any dies. None of them can avoid being Sucker Punched, because I do have of course the Magic Bounce, unless they want to set up themselves like Sword X can do. So that is why Sucker Punch is the greatest move in Absol, and yeah, most of them, by the way, don't need to be Sucker Punched, because most of them get knocked off, because they don't have speed, unless they are scarfed. Yeah, anyway, anything else I need to say about Mega Absol? Not really, I don't think so. Next up is Menafion, and this is a Zord X check / counter. It carries the Toxic, Scald, U-turn and Heal Bell. It has a little bit of speed investment to outspeed a Zangoose that speed creeps from a Nidoqueen. Yeah, it might be weird to you, but I can see him bringing it. If he has max speed Adamant or max speed Jolly, then it's a little bit of investment wasted, but it's not too big of a deal. Anyway, carrying the Toxic because I want to have the Zord X on timer. I have Scald because Scald can burn switch-ins. Also, Scald does a good chunk of damage. It does around, it's a 3-hit kill, it does around 33 to 39 or something to Zord X. It's just offensive one, no HP investment as such. So it can set up on me, I guess, but with the Toxic it can no longer set up on me. I have the U-turn because Menifee is more useful than just versus the Zord. So I can U-turn on stuff like Celebi if it wants to come in, which is more likely gonna be some kind of check if it's offensive Celebi to Menifee, at least it can be. And yeah, if it's defensive, I might still be able to outspeed in U-turn. It's still quite effective. So yeah, and also if he knows that Zord X cannot sweep yet versus Menifee, then I could U-turn on him and get initiative. So U-turn is gonna be useful if I do decide to click it. I don't know yet, because I might want to keep Zord X that much safe that I don't want to make risky plays around it. So yeah, because he might be one of those guys that sets up on a check expecting, well, not necessarily expecting, but just clicking setup, because setup is often a good thing to click. And last but not least, it's heal bell because I can deal with stuff like melodic. Yes, I'm saying melodic. Even though I have a Kieran Black. Kieran Black is usually not the switch in because Kieran Black can get burned, but for that too, I do have heal bell. Yeah, it's just really useful to have heal bell on Menifee. It's a nice way to deal with status on my team, which he mightn't expect me to run heal bell on Menifee for. Next up, Nidoqueef. Click, please. Nidoqueef. Nidoqueef is a T-Bolt, Sludge Wave, Earth Power and Stealth Rock one. It is a little bit of a weird investment. The speed is towards speed. Melodic, if it's just no speed at all, it reaches 198, I reach 199. The special defense is for Tornadus T, mainly because Tornadus T is kind of a threat, and I have not checked it. I don't have any switch-ins except for this, on this case, just like Nidoqueef. But yeah, T-Bolt to hit that up for some good damage. With Life Orb it does a good chunk. He might knock off Life Orb, it does a lot less than, but yeah. Also T-Bolt is for Skarmory, it can definitely pressure Skarmory. Sludge Wave, because Sludge Wave and Aromatisse, because I do want to use this as an Aromatisse check. Earth Power because the T-Bolt switch-ins are Nidoking and Jolteon, and Earth Power just decimates them. Also, he just doesn't like Earth Power because Sword X. Oh, that's about it actually. Sword X, Zangoose, but Zangoose, yeah. But yeah, Earth Power and another step, so another good a good step to use. And Rocks because, like I said, he has a lot of weaknesses to Rocks, so Stealth Rocks is definitely gonna be a thing. That is useful versus his team. Also, I can just set up Stealth Rocks on stuff like his Leavenny if he does want to set up a Sticky Whip, because Nidoqueen doesn't even care about a weak ass Leavenny, unless it's SD Baton Pass, which I don't think he'll bring, but he might, I think, yes. But that wouldn't be that bad, to be honest. Anyway, last but not least, Mussolini. And Mussolini, I didn't state this in the I did state this in the analysis. I said he doesn't have any ghost types and no dark types. Mew can now run this set: Roost, Calm Mind, Psychic. It is especially defensive, another Tornadus T check. It has leftovers because knockoff stealth not gonna do much, so I don't need leftovers. I don't need Colbur Berry if the knockoff's not gonna do anything anyway. So leftovers, Roost, Defog because I did have Baton Pass on this at first, but Defog is more useful because he does, like I said, have all the options of hazards, and I don't want to have hazards against me when I have stuff like Kieran Black and Taruk that need their help usually, most of the time. Anyway, Calm Mind, Psychic, because Calm Mind it can set up on a lot of things except for the Sword and the Zangoose, but everything but that usually you can actually set up pretty well. And like I said, most of the team is special, especially offensive. Stuff like Nidoking, I can set up a comment on Nidoking. Stuff like Celebi, can set up on Celebi. If it's not physical, of course, with Sword Stance. But yeah, everything but that, Mussolini can definitely deal with. And Psychic is a nice step to hit up stuff like Skarmory as well, which has to force me out with, what's it called? With Whirlwind, if he wants to get rid of my Mew, because he has no other way. I don't think, at least. He might have Toxic, could be a thing, but I think he's gonna have to be Whirlwind to force Mew out, and that means that his Skarmory would be weakened. And if I get something like even Menifee, basically anything but my Absol in, then it's gonna be great, because I can then definitely proceed to pressure his Skarmory to die, I guess, to heal up and to put him in a position where he has to sack him all, saving his Skarmory, or has to sack Skarmory, saving his, or the remainder of his team. Okay, I did make some last ditch notes, and that is what I have to check for in the game. I have to check for Rocky Helmet Skarmory, and this is mainly for the Archeops. If he's Rocky Helmet Skarmory, he can definitely bring me like under defeated range very quickly. So I have to be aware of Rocky Helmet Skarmory. So if it click U-turn the first time and I get hit by Skarmory's Rocky Helmet, then I know, and I know that I might have to not click U-turn next time, but just hard switch, for example. Who knows? Also, modest or timid Nidoking. If he does bring Nidoking, need to know what kind of Nidokings that he's bringing. Because my Mew is built to outspeed the modest one. It can take definitely hits up from modest and timid, but it's good to know if I want to take it down quickly. Physically or specially defensive Aromatisse. Of course, Mega Absol, like I said in the video. Offensive or defensive Celebi. This is for Manaphy, but you can outspeed and U-turn out on it. Kyurem Black, we can potentially set up substitutes on the Celebi. And if he's offensive, then I know that much, and I can do well with Mega Absol against him. Sucker punching, whatever. Well, not necessarily sucker punching, of course, but like if he's cropped, then sucker punch, but who knows. Defensive or special defensive Skarmory. Again, for the Kyurem Black, which can run train on Skarmory if he's physically defensive, not specially defensive. And for the Mega Absol again, because if he is specially defensive, then I can do some damage with knockoff if he is weakened, and I do want to sweep with Mega Absol at that point. So, offensive or defensive Sword X, or mainly offensive if he has Roost. That's my main concern, because like I said, most of my team carries Sucker Punch as their priority. So. I do want to know if I can avoid the Sucker Punch, if he can avoid the Sucker Punch by roosting up on me. And it's good versus Kyurem, for my Kyurem, I want to say, because Kyurem might outspeed it now. If he is defensive, and Mega Absol, if he is defensive, Mega Absol is again not going to sweep that likely. I do think, like I said, he's going to bring offensive, maybe with Will-O-Wisp. Probably with Roost. And I need to know if his Tornadity is Assault Vest or if he's stunned. And I want to know if it's also Assault Vest, because if he is Assault Vest, then my Nidoqueen cannot hit him up for that much damage. But on the other hand, I can set up my Stealth versus him. Same with Mew. I can Roost, heal up Mew. Whatever I want to do with Mew if he is Assault Vest. I do think he's going to bring Assault Vest to check my stuff like my Nidoqueen. Anyway, if he is the taunt set, then I'm the matchup is a little bit my disadvantage. So yeah, that's the last thing I have to scout for, and yeah, that's basically what I need to do in the game, because I cannot know beforehand. But that's how I will play my team. That's how I will at least plan to play my team, and that's how I decide to when I decide to sack summons because it's not useful anymore, or when I decide to set up with summons because I feel that it's gonna be the best play for me to make. Anyway, this has been a long as team building video, at least the team analysis and etc. So I will edit it real quick, and I will get back to you when the match starts. Okay guys, what's up? This is the match versus David, aka Shinzy, the coach of the Swalotford FC. My first match in the playoffs, the semi-finals, and we're gonna head straight into the game. The team he brought. Oh, my mom was vacuumed, so hopefully she can't hear me because it would be weird. But the team he brought, he basically did decide to bring Melodic, and he also decided to bring Jolteon. So those two were not what I expected him to bring, and thankfully he didn't bring Skarmory, which was really good on my end, because Skarmory is always like a big thing to prepare for. So him not having it does make it a lot easier to deal with some stuff on his team. Anyway, I lead off with Turok, as you can see. It's flipping pretty crazily right now, and he leads off with Melodic. And I have a good switch into Melodic. It's not Kyurem because I don't want to get Scald Burned. Luckily I do not get Scald Burned anyway. But I go into Manaphy just as a pivot, a U-turn out, predicting him to possibly switch into one of his offensive mons. Expecting more defense mon, expecting him to me to Energy Ball. But he makes a good play, and Dragon Tails expecting me to make a play. Like U-turn, like a switch or whatever. Get Dragon Tail out in Manaphy again, and I go again for the U-turn, because Dragon Tail does not do any damage to Kyurem, so I feel very safe going back into Kyurem, not risking anything. And if he wants to drop a status on me, I do still have Heal Bell on Manaphy to to, well, you know, heal off the damage from the toxic or whatever he wants to drop. He predicts me to go for an energy ball here, and he goes for the mirror coat. So well prepared, expecting me to be a Calm Mind slash Tilglosa with energy ball. But I'm sorry, bro, I am not that set. Kyurem has a safe switch in, so I can fire off ice beams, and luckily for me, Zord X is gonna get hit up by an ice beam, which does a good chunk of damage. So yeah, I'm gonna go into the counter, go for the Scald here, just guarding what he wants to do and what kind of set he is. With the damage, it turns out to be a little bit bulkier than the set I expect him to bring. I expect him to bring just standard max stack, max speed. He turns to be a little bit bulkier because normal Scald would do around 33 to 39% to that sort that I just described. So he's a little bit bulkier. I decided to drop a Toxic, he stays in. I disagree with that play because he had a very safe switch into something like Celebi, knowing that this was the counter to his Zord. At least I guess he could have known it was the counter. But yeah, he decides to Dragon Dance up, and with the Toxic on the Zord, it's gonna be really easily dealt with at this point. So he decides to go for the Dragon Claw, as I just called, for some good damage. Does a nice chunklet, as he's now forced to either go for another Dragon Claw or roost up, as he does decide to roost up. He doesn't gain too much health because, as you can see, he's still at 20%, so he needs to switch here to save it, as I can predict it easily, and go for U-turn. His Celebi comes in. With this damage, I know his Celebi is definitely offensive. Don't know what kind of Celebi it is necessarily, but he's offensive. He has no HP, no defense investment, so that's good to know, and that's something I can very much use in my favor, as I can go out into my Scarfed Archeops and go for a U-turn of my own, as that's gonna pick off this Celebi regardless of what set he is. Unfortunately for me, he switches out into Zord X. That's a good play because Zord X does have another turn to live, as the Toxic I'm gonna do 6% damage, and I have to, basically it was my fastest thing on my team, because it's the only thing that outsped Zord X without me taking, well, it just outsped Zord X basically, as Epsilon is not Mega Evolved, so I don't want to risk Sucker Punch return, well, you know, predictions, because that's not necessary basically. The 50-50 I can avoid it by just going into Manaphy and just go for U-turn. I expect him to hit me. I could have expected him to roost, and if he did roost, then I could come back into Archeops, having a very safe head smash basically. I go into Kyurem on the basically kind of on the U-turn. Basically, I U-turned to kill Zord X. I go into Kyurem because I tried to lure out his Aromaties, but he decides to go with Tornadus, which is a fair play, as he goes for the Focus Blast. I predict by going by switching into Nidoqueef, and he reveals the Psychic, and that's not the thing I expected. But that's fine. I do live it quite comfortably, and I can hit him up with a Thunderbolt, but that's a nice amount of damage. I want to save this because I do need this for Aromaties. So even though his U-turn was very obvious, I don't want to risk Nidoqueen because I need it, and it's my best play just to save it. As I can go into Mew very safely, as Mew is not a check to Tornadus for one, and also Mew doesn't die to anything on his team. The only thing that could have been a problem for Mew is his Celebi, if it was like a Nasty Plot variant or a Sword Dance variant, like a setup variant of Celebi. That was the only thing that really scared me, because as you can see, his Jolteon is Specs Jolteon, but the Shadow Ball or Sickle Beam are both not gonna do any damage to me. 45%. I do risk the confusion, but just want to scout for the damage and what type of set he is, and as it just turned out to be Specs, like I said. Can safely switch into Archeops right here. Don't know if it's the best play. I could have actually set up with Mew and could have 6-0'd him at that point, because what it turns out, his Celebi is actually a Scarred Celebi, and what that means is that he wouldn't have been able to do anything against this Mew. But I didn't know that at the point, of course, so I feared it to be a setup Mew with Recover, and he would be able to beat my Calm Mind Mew, so that's why I didn't go for that. Gonna go into, well, I just went into Archeops. I'm Scarfed, so I outspeed. He's probably decided to stay in, expecting me to not be Scarfed. and yeah, go for the signal beam to bring me under defeater's range. But yeah, I go for the U-turn as this is my safest play. Don't want to head smash because I want to keep Melodic as a setup fodder for Kyurem, and I don't want to have myself in defeater's range. And yeah, so my safest play was just to go for a U-turn, as I can safely switch in Nidoqueen on these aspects. He goes into his Yugo boss to someone, I don't know what it is, but Tornadus, Tyrion, and he decides to revenge kill me with that, by clicking Hurricane. Fair play. It does mean that I don't have the best check to Aromatisse right now, because it was my check to Aromatisse. Counter actually. But yeah, here is the play. I wanted to click U-turn. I really wanted to click U-turn, expecting him to sack Melodic because that is the most useless member on his team. But I figured even if Melodic goes down, it works out for me regardless, because yeah, I didn't want to have his Tornadus being a good Tornadus set and a good prediction or whatever, and have something else on my team get killed, because still Mew cannot sweep if his Celebi is not if Celebi is recovered with Nasty Plot recovered, so it sense. But yeah, head smash, take myself in the defeater's range. Here he goes into his Celebi. I expect him to go for either an attack, being an offensive Celebi, or going for the recover. As it turns out to go for the Giga Drain, does not do any damage, as that means that I can safely roost up here and set up substitutes, because it turns out that he is a Scarf Celebi. He actually wants Kyurem in, because Kyurem is set up for the first Aromatisse, as his Aromatisse turns out to be a Calm Mind Aromatisse with Rest and Sleep Talk. And I did expect some kind of Aromatisse like this, because a Stall Breaker Mew is not something that can counter that, because of course he has the Aromatol, making it unable to taunt him. But yeah, what happens is I freeze him. I completely freeze him, and that makes his Aromatisse totally unable of beating my Kyurem or beating the remainder of my squad. So I'm sorry for that freeze. In the long term, I don't think it really mattered, because he had Draining Kiss on his Rest, Sleep Talk, Calm Mindset, and Draining Kiss only has 16 PP, and I have a Calm Mind Mew, although I do have Psychic and not Psyshock. By the way, he was Key Berry as well, so he would have the defense boost. But yeah, I was Psychic instead of Psyshock. I would have still been able to completely PP stall him, as Mew doesn't take any damage from Draining Kiss, even at +6, and I was at like normal Mew, it does like 50%. So it's absolutely shit, the damage that Aromatisse puts out on Mew, meaning that a Mew would have been able to outsell him either way, and yeah, a crit would have just sealed up the game for me. This is basically, in my opinion, just a way to speed up the game, because the Calm Mind War Aromatisse versus Mew would have been more than likely won in my by me, and it just saves like maybe 60 turns of PP stall. So I'm glad I did get the freeze, of course, because that means that I have an easy 5-0 victory. Yeah. And his last mon is of course Tornadus, which just dies to this Ice Beam as he decides to focus Blast Break to mess up. So it's a 5-1 in my victory, in my favor. I mean, a 5 victory in my favor. And GG to David. I did have, I did prepare this team, like I did put many hours preparing this team, because he did have the team matchup against me. I think I did effectively manage to play around this, as you can see with the 5-0 victory. And yeah, I maybe I should have set up a Mew sooner. I think that could have been a good play on me, even if he was like a Celebi, which I feared. I could have dealt with that regardless by switching into Kyurem or my Archeop. So maybe I should have done that. That's hindsight of course. So, but this win does mean that I reached the finals, and the other person who reached the finals is Nacho, and Nacho is the other team that's undefeated in the playoffs. He won against Sasha in his semi-final match. So it's the battle between the undefeated teams, both 8-0. So thanks for watching this part of the playoffs. against Swalotford FC. And if you did enjoy this, if you did expect me to win or whatever, please leave a like and please show some support. Leave a comment in the comment section below, and yeah, I would very much appreciate that. And hopefully see you soon with my match versus Nacho, the final.